Welcome to the new and improved Veryfi inboxes. On the inboxes, you can upload documents for different document types and view data that's been extracted from each document via our OCR API. To access the inboxes, go to the left sidebar menu and click on Inboxes. Here we can see each inbox that's enabled for my account. The inboxes are reorderable, so for example, if you wanted to change the order in which they appear, you can click on an inbox and then drag and drop it into a different position. Here we can see the filters that are applied to the inbox. The preset is just a date range filter. So for example, if I wanted to view all documents that have been uploaded over time for the invoices and receipts inbox, I can click on all. If I wanted to view the documents that were only uploaded yesterday, I can click on yesterday. Here we can change the start date as well as the end date. And then we also have the option to view advanced filters depending on the inbox. So for invoices and receipts specifically, we have the capability of filtering by tags, vendors, and categories. To hide the advanced filters, you can click on Hide Advanced Filters. And then to reload the documents with the default filters, we can just click on Refresh. Now down here on the bottom right, we have the page size. This indicates how many documents get loaded at a time. So let's say I had 20 documents uploaded for invoices and receipts. Initially, only 10 documents would appear in the table. And then there would be a Load More button. Clicking on Load More would then load the next 10 documents. If you wanted, for example, 25 documents to be loaded at a time, you could change this page size to 25. In my case, I only have 4 documents uploaded to my account, so that's why we see 4 documents here and at the bottom in this footer. Now, within this top section, we have a search input. This is used to search or filter the documents via any search value. So let's say I wanted to find a document that matches a particular ID. I can paste the ID in here, press enter, and now we find the document that matches that ID. If I clear this and press enter, it'll just reload the documents. To manage each of these columns that appear in the table, we can use this button up here, and this shows a list of columns that appear in the table. The check mark indicates whether or not the column is visible. So for example, if I wanted to hide this tags column, I could uncheck the tags checkbox there and it gets removed from the table. I'll check it so that it appears again. And then the search input can be used to filter each of the columns that are shown. So if I want to find all columns that match dates, for example, I could type in dates and then they get filtered automatically. Some additional capabilities of the table include sorting. So as you can see, some columns have sort indicators. If you click on this, it'll sort either in ascending or descending order. You can also resize columns. So if I hover over a column and then go to the far right, you'll see this drag indicator. If I click and hold, I can resize the column so that it's either wider or shorter. We can also reorder columns. So let's say I click on vendor name and then I shift it to the left. Now it gets swapped with the vendor logo. Each row has a menu. So if I click on this, you'll see that there's options to view the document, delete the document, and then for invoices and receipts specifically, you can also rescan the document. To select a row, we can click on this checkbox here. You'll see that these actions appear at the top, which are basically just actions that you could perform on one or more selected rows in the table. So in this case, if I wanted to apply a certain category or certain tags to selected rows, I could use these actions. Or if I wanted to delete multiple rows, I could use this delete option here. There's other ways to select rows. So if I wanted to select all the rows, I could click on this checkbox here. If I wanted to select a certain range of rows, so let's say I have this one selected and then I want to select this row as well as this row, I can hold the shift key down, click on this checkbox, and then it'll automatically select all the rows within that particular range. Now to upload a new document, what you can do is click on the collect button up here, and then here you could drag and drop multiple documents from your file system, and then they'll automatically get uploaded to this inbox. Now let's view a document that's already been uploaded. So let's just say I open up this document here. This will open up a detailed view of the document. How this is laid out is in the header, we have the vendor information. So we have the vendor name and the logo. We also have when the document was uploaded. We have some currency info as well as the total. And then here's the document ID, which you can copy. This is a menu for the document, so if you wanted, you could open it in a new window, view some API documentation associated with this document type, as well as SDKs and code examples. This links to an FAQ. And then for receipts and invoices, you can archive the document. And then you also have the capability to delete the document. On the left here, we see the image or PDF view of the uploaded document. The green boxes are bounding boxes, which you can click on to view data that's been extracted, as well as the field name and then the extraction scores. So some of these fields are editable. For example, vendor phone number. So if I wanted to go ahead and edit this value, I can click on the bounding box, click into this input field, change the value, and click outside, and then the value will get updated. At the top here, we have a toolbar. So if you want, you can zoom in or zoom out on the document. You can open the document in a new tab, and you can also hide or show the bounding boxes, scale this to the full screen. And then there's different filters that you could apply. For example, if you only want to view data with high scores, you can click on high score, and then it'll change the bounding box view. Okay, and then on the right side, we have different tabs. So the first tab that's selected is the data tab. This shows the fields for the document as well as data that's been extracted for those fields. So these will be different depending on which document type that you're viewing. In this case, we have this general field section, and then since we're viewing an invoice or receipt, we also have vendor sections, bill to information, the ship to information, and then some sections are represented as tables such as line items. So for tables, you have the ability to add rows, you can delete rows, you can reorder columns, make modifications to different cell values, etc. Also, if you have a lot of line items or just a lot of rows within a particular table, you have the ability to detach this from this sidebar view and move it down here. And then this is a resizable container. So you can move it up and down to increase or decrease the height. And then you could also stretch this across the full width as well. Okay, and then if you click on embed view, it'll add it back into the sidebar. Now, each of these fields are read-only or editable. So for example, if I click on a value here, if it is editable, I'll be able to actually edit the value. So if a field has an associated bounding box with it, the bounding box will get highlighted on the left automatically. If I make an update to this field here and I click outside, it will save the value, and then that value change will automatically get reflected in the bounding box as well. Now, these fields can be toggleable. For example, if you wanted to hide or show certain fields, what you can do is you can click on this button up here, and this will take you to a field configuration. So you can see each section, for example, general fields and the billing information, for example, and then you can see the fields that are associated with that particular section. Now, if you want to hide or show certain fields, you can just click on these checkboxes and then click save down here, and then that'll save the change accordingly. Now, if we go into the fraud tab, this indicates whether or not the uploaded document is fraudulent. So in this case, it's not a fraudulent document, but if it was, then you would see this appear as a red dot, and then it would mark this as fraud. And then one of these detection types would get highlighted to let you know what type of fraud was detected. So for example, if it was a duplicate, or if it was a screenshot, or if there was like digital tampering. Now down here, we have some additional meta information associated with the document, including how many pages there are, whether or not there's any duplicates that exist, or if there's any warnings with particular fields. Down here, you can inspect the JSON, or you could learn more information about how we do the fraud detection. And then this meta section down here is just the JSON representation of all this fraud information that appears at the top here. In the OCR tab, this is just the OCR text associated with the document. In the JSON view, you can view a JSON representation of the document, so you can see a mapping of the field to each of the values that were extracted. You can also toggle this detailed JSON view on to view the bounding box information and OCR score information as well for each field. And then if you want to download the JSON, you can click on this button here to download the JSON as a JSON file. Now, if you want to view the history modifications for a document, so like, let's say you're updating a particular field, we can go to the history tab here, and then you could see when that update was occurred, the action, which field was updated, what the original value was, what the new value was, and then who it was changed by. So currently this history tab is only available for invoices and receipts. It doesn't appear in the viewer for other document types. Another thing that's specific to invoices and receipts is this approve button. So you can mark a document as approved or not approved. When a document is marked as approved, then everything becomes read-only, so you cannot make further modifications to the document. And then these arrows down here are just so that you can move from one document to another. Okay. So now the next thing that I want to go over is AnyDocs. So the rest of these inboxes here all work very similar to the invoices and receipts inbox. The AnyDocs inbox is slightly different in that we have essentially two sub inboxes. There's a documents inbox, which works the same way as the other ones, but then there's also blueprints. So blueprints are essentially like templates that let the model know how to extract data from a certain document that is uploaded. So by default, we provide initial blueprints for you. These are marked as Veryfi blueprints, as you can see within the source column. But you can also create your own blueprints using this create blueprint option up here. So if you wanted to, you can upload any sort of file, such as like a bank verification letter, an invoice, etc. And then you can create your own blueprint that way. If you wanted to just view the blueprint that is created for you by default, you can click on this view button here. And then this shows you an example of an airway bill that blueprint that we've created for you. So that as you can see here, we have all the different fields that we've drawn over the document. And then we provided example values, indicated what type the field is, and we provided descriptions as well. If you wanted to create your own version of this, what you would do is go into create blueprint. And then let's just say we uploaded an invoice, for example. Then what I could do to define my own blueprint is I'll give it a name. Let's just say invoice blueprint, and then I'll just give it a type. Let's add a group. We could specify address, for example. For the types, you can select either object or a list of objects. I'll just leave this as object right now. Click on add group. And then let's just say I added, I'll highlight this row right here. And you can see this editor pop up. And in this JSON key, we will enter a field, an address field, for example, street. The example value automatically gets pre-filled using from where the box was drawn. And then here we can indicate what type of field it is. So because it's a street, we could just mark it as a string. And then the group that this will be associated with is address. And then here we could just say street description. Click on save. And now you'll see that this street field that we've added is still drawn over the document, but now it's included in here within the address group. And now I'll click on save. Now, if I sort this table here, you can see that we have a user blueprint. So that's a blueprint that is created by you essentially. And then we have the name of the blueprint, the document, or the document type, and then when it was created and when it was updated. So if we click on view, then you'd still be able to view that custom blueprint that you created. And so now if we go into this document section here, we can, let's upload a document for AnyDocuments. I'll put an example bank verification letter. And then here, this is where you could select from all the blueprints that we have available. So you could select either a Veryfi blueprint or you could select the custom blueprint that you just created. In this case, I'll select the bank account verification letter that's provided by default and click continue. So now we can see that the bank account verification letter has been uploaded. We can see that the blueprint name that it's using is the bank account verification letter. We have some meta information here. And if we click on view here to view this AnyDoc, you'll see that we have a very similar document viewer as the invoices and receipts example that I showed earlier. The main differences are, instead of showing like a vendor name, for example, we're showing the blueprint name at the top here. We have the document ID, which you can still copy. We still have this this menu here, and then here's the file that was uploaded, and you can see that bounding boxes do get returned for this any document. And the main difference here is these blueprint fields. So if we look at the different sections, we do have some general fields. We have meta, and we have like a fraud section, but the blueprint field section is essentially associated with the blueprint that you selected when you were doing the document upload. So as you can see, we have different fields here, such as the bank name, the account type, the address, and all of the information that was extracted appears within this value column here. So for bank address, for example, if I expand this, then I can see all this additional information that was extracted from the document based off of the blueprint that I had selected. Okay, and then we still have the fraud section, the OCR text section, as well as the JSON tab as well.